It's a quiet epidemic, a shadow creeping into the lives of countless women, often unnoticed even by themselves. We see them, seemingly put together, juggling myriad responsibilities, their smiles radiant in photos. Yet beneath the surface of their bustling lives and outward composure, many are silently battling a profound sense of isolation. What if the very behaviors we applaud, independence, relentless self-improvement, or constant social engagement, are actually unconscious? Whispers of a deeper, unspoken loneliness? Prepare to uncover the hidden signals, the subtle cues that reveal a woman's quiet struggle with feeling utterly alone in the world. 10 signs a woman is lonely. 1. The illusion of a full schedule, perpetually busy yet unfulfilled. One of the most paradoxical signs that a woman might be grappling with profound loneliness is an excessively packed calendar. She's often described as the woman who is doing it all, seemingly a social butterfly, always with an appointment, a meeting, or a commitment. Her days are a whirlwind of work meetings, fitness classes, volunteering, and even social events. However, this constant activity is not always a reflection of deep connection or genuine fulfillment. Instead, for many women, it's a deliberate strategy to escape the unbearable silence and emptiness that looms when the activity ceases. Psychologists highlight that filling one's schedule with obligations does not equate to meaningful connection or emotional support. Lonely individuals may actively seek social engagement, yet this engagement often remains superficial, lacking the emotional depth that truly satisfies their need for connection. The woman might be everywhere, always on the go, yet despite her ubiquitous presence, she often feels unseen, adrift in a sea of superficial interactions. This constant state of busyness can be an attempt to replace genuine connections, creating an outward appearance of being connected while inwardly she remains isolated. It is a subtle but telling behavior, a shield against the quiet ache of solitude, where a woman intentionally overcommits, not out of passion for all her endeavors, but from a desperate need to avoid being alone with her thoughts. 2. The hyper-independent facade. Strength as a burden. Independence is a highly celebrated trait, especially in women. The ability to handle repairs, make decisions, manage finances, and emotionally regulate without relying on others is often lauded as a sign of remarkable strength and capability. However, for a woman who is deeply lonely, this hyper-independence can transform from a source of freedom into a heavy burden, a form of self-imposed exile. Psychologists observe that lonely women may appear incredibly independent, preferring to tackle everything on their own rather than seeking or accepting help. They might turn down offers of assistance, not because they genuinely don't need it, but because they fear the vulnerability of asking, or the potential disappointment if someone lets them down. This behavior serves as a protective mechanism, a way to prevent hurt or further letdowns from others. While she isn't necessarily looking for a rescuer, the unspoken truth is that a little backup, a shared burden, would be profoundly welcome. This relentless self-reliance can stem from being too accustomed to being alone, leading to a decreased motivation to expand relationships. The feeling of being cool, because she can do everything by herself, traveling alone, eating alone, waking up early to exercise, or even having many pets, can eventually give way to a sudden realization that something is profoundly amiss. The long-term habit of being alone can make her forget the innate human craving for companionship and someone to confide in, pushing her further into a quiet, self-imposed isolation. 3. Trapped in the past. Idealizing former relationships. A poignant sign of a lonely woman is her tendency to dwell excessively on past relationships, often idealizing them to an unrealistic degree. When the present reality fails to offer enough love or emotional fulfillment to supersede what has been, she frequently finds herself reminiscing about former connections. These memories, whether of a first love, places visited, conversations shared, or old messages, become imbued with an almost mythical beauty that the current reality simply cannot match. This dwelling in yesterday is common among introverted women who have experienced painful past relationships, making it incredibly difficult for them to open their hearts to the present, especially to new men. They might repeatedly listen to songs tied to specific bygone memories until the music itself feels worn out, sinking deeper into a nostalgic trance. They enjoy recounting every detail about the man of yesterday to a trusted friend, finding solace in reliving what they perceive as better, more connected times. This constant backward gaze is a manifestation of unmet needs in the present, a yearning for the emotional intimacy and connection that feels absent now. It highlights a core issue. The current emotional landscape is barren, leading her to seek refuge in a romanticized past, preventing her from engaging with potential new connections and exacerbating her current feelings of isolation. 4. The persistent inner critic. A self-inflicted wound. Loneliness can manifest as an intensifying and relentless inner critic, a negative voice that constantly scrutinizes and reminds a woman of her perceived flaws. When a woman feels disconnected and unable to forge meaningful connections, she may turn this harsh scrutiny inward, believing that something is fundamentally wrong with her. This chatty internal critic reinforces the core belief that her loneliness is a direct consequence of her own shortcomings, leading to a destructive shame cycle. While being close to loved ones often allows for a more forgiving view of one's imperfections, the absence of such support can amplify these feelings of inadequacy. She constantly reminds herself of the reasons she believes she isn't loved or deserving of connection, exacerbating her sense of isolation. Psychologists suggest that it is not her fault or a matter of destiny that she is lonely. Rather, it is precisely the lack of support and connection with others that makes it feel impossible for her to overcome these perceived imperfections. This constant self-reproach can be intertwined with a lack of self-confidence, especially in women who have experienced significant life changes like divorce. Societal judgments can cause them to internalize blame, leading to a withdrawal from social interactions and, in severe cases, to depression. This self-critical loop is a painful internal manifestation of external loneliness, trapping her in a cycle of self-doubt and isolation. 5. Emotional numbness and exhaustion. The weight of unexpressed feelings. One of the most subtle yet profound signs of deep loneliness is a pervasive feeling of emotional numbness or emptiness, often accompanied by chronic exhaustion. According to one author, emotional paralysis isn't about feeling nothing, but about feeling everything yet being unable to act. A lonely woman might suppress most of her emotions because she feels that expressing them no longer serves any purpose. When she feels alienated from the outside world, she concurrently self-isolates her own emotions, building walls to protect herself from further vulnerability or perceived insignificance. This suppression can lead to a state of constant mental and emotional drain. Even the most introverted individuals possess an innate human need for connection. When this fundamental need goes unmet for prolonged periods, it leads to deep weariness and discouragement. The sense of always having to go it alone, to bear all burdens without external inspiration, support, or help invariably leads to mental and physical exhaustion. This constant state of depletion can manifest as fragmented sleep, insomnia, or early waking, even when she is physically tired from her daily responsibilities. Her nights might be filled with replaying conversations, questioning her sensitivity, or wondering if anyone would truly notice her absence. This internal battle of unexpressed emotions and unfulfilled needs culminates in a profound and draining exhaustion that permeates every aspect of her life. 6. The social media paradox. Connected but isolated in the age of digital omnipresence, a revealing sign of a lonely woman is her particular relationship with social media. While social platforms are designed to connect people, for those feeling isolated, they can amplify the sense of being painfully alone. A lonely woman might spend hours scrolling through feeds, witnessing a parade of perfect lives baby announcements, couple selfies, group dinners, which only deepens her feeling of being an outsider looking in. The stark contrast between the curated, joyful images online and her own internal experience can lead to negative self-comparison, potentially contributing to depression and social avoidance. Despite having thoughts and feelings, she rarely posts anything personal or vulnerable, unsure if anyone truly cares to hear them. This digital escapism, which includes binge-watching and frequent social media consumption, can be an attempt to replace real-life connections or even to feel closer to online personalities. While she might use platforms like Facebook to share sad statuses, vague thoughts, or mournful poems, she often finds more solace in confiding in strangers and her friend list than with the people she interacts with daily. This behavior highlights a fundamental disconnect, the inability to integrate with those physically present while seeking an elusive connection in the vast, often superficial, digital realm. 7. Exaggerating differences, justifying isolation as loneliness deepens. A woman may unconsciously begin to magnify the perceived differences between herself and others. This behavior serves as a self-protective mechanism, allowing her to rationalize her growing detachment from the community. The more isolated she becomes, the more she feels compelled to categorize, define, and explain her loneliness, often in terms that safeguard her ego. She might convince herself that her separation is a manifestation of independence, a chosen introversion, or a deliberate lifestyle choice, taking an irrational pride in her solitude rather than genuinely addressing the underlying pain. This justification allows her to avoid confronting the true emotional void. By focusing on how different she is, she inadvertently builds higher walls, making it even harder for others to connect with her and for her to seek genuine belonging. This cognitive distortion reinforces her isolation, creating a narrative where her solitude is a virtue rather than a symptom of a deeper unmet need for connection. The more she retreats, the more her world shrinks, leading her to prioritize staying home over going out and safety over new experiences, causing her to reject valuable opportunities that could foster connection and personal growth. 8. Constant caregiver, rarely cared for. The emotional imbalance. A deeply lonely woman often embodies the role of the constant emotional caregiver in her relationships, meticulously remembering birthdays, responding quickly to texts, and proactively inquiring about others' well-being, from a friend's mother's surgery to a colleague's promotion. She pours immense emotional energy into others, seemingly always there for them, but seldom receives the same attention in return. Studies indicate that women are frequently more inclined to take on this caregiving role, even when they themselves are silently struggling. This behavior is often fueled by a subconscious hope that by giving endlessly, someone might eventually reciprocate and pour back into her. This selfless outward focus, however, masks a profound inner deficit. She is emotionally available for everyone else, offering comfort and knowing just the right words to say when someone is hurting. Yet she struggles immensely to be emotionally available to herself. When it comes to her own feelings, walls instantly go up. Psychologists note that individuals who chronically suppress their own emotions are more prone to feeling disconnected from others, despite their deep empathy. She understands pain in others but rarely extends the same care and validation to her own suffering, reinforcing her isolated emotional state. 9. The subtle "I'm just tired," a coded cry for help, one of the most frequently used and subtly revealing phrases of a lonely woman is "I'm just tired." This seemingly innocuous remark serves as a safe, non-alarming code for a much deeper emotional state. It's a phrase that doesn't demand follow-up questions, effectively deflecting any probing into her true feelings. In reality, it often translates to "I feel invisible," "I don't know how to ask for help," or "I am completely drained." This phrase becomes a convenient armor, allowing her to avoid vulnerability and the perceived risk of disappointment that comes with admitting her need for support. This constant weariness is not merely physical exhaustion, but a profound mental and emotional fatigue stemming from juggling countless responsibilities, work, family, and the silent struggle with loneliness, with little to no emotional backup. It's a sign that she has stopped expecting to be celebrated or truly seen. This behavior is often coupled with outward support for others, while downplaying her own accomplishments, a testament to her belief that her achievements don't matter, or that no one is truly watching. The "I'm just tired" serves as her quiet resignation, a universal alibi for her profound emotional depletion and hidden need for connection. 10. Neglecting self-care, a reflection of diminished self-worth, a poignant and often overlooked sign of a woman's loneliness is a noticeable decline in her self-care routines. This isn't just about superficial appearances. It encompasses fundamental aspects of well-being, such as irregular eating habits, a neglect of grooming, and a diminishing engagement in hobbies or activities she once enjoyed. Psychologists suggest that these changes can be a direct reflection of depression, which is intrinsically linked to loneliness and an overarching sense of "why bother?" When a woman feels a profound lack of connection and support from others, her own intrinsic value can erode, leading to a decreased motivation to invest in herself. The feeling of being unloved or unseen can translate into a disinterest in her own physical and emotional upkeep. This internal critic, which reinforces the belief that something is wrong with her, further perpetuates this cycle of self-neglect. Her internal world becomes a reflection of her external isolation, leading to a state where she feels her achievements don't matter and there's no one to celebrate them anyway. This abandonment of self-care is a silent cry, a tangible manifestation of the deep emotional void that loneliness has carved into her life, signaling a diminished sense of self-worth and a profound weariness that impacts her ability to thrive. Subtle behaviors described above paint a vivid picture of the quiet struggle many women face with loneliness. From a perpetually busy schedule that masks a desperate need for connection to the relentless self-criticism that erodes self-worth, these signs are often invisible to the casual observer. Recognizing these indicators, whether in ourselves or in others, is the crucial first step toward healing. It requires looking beyond the superficial, asking the second question, and staying present a little longer. Healing begins with the simple, sincere admission of "I'm not okay right now." This honest truth, shared with the right person, can be the catalyst that begins to turn the tide, transforming isolation into connection and silent suffering into a pathway for genuine well-being.